start. We're on.
Are we on now? Hey, welcome, Catholic Answers Live Super Show. I didn't know that we were ready to go, and I was trying to play the song "Lust for Life" by Iggy Pop for people, and I blew it. Settle down, settle down. Welcome. First of all, Jeff, thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
I had to ask you last minute to come in and be our guest.
Then I don't have the time to get nervous, so that's great.
That's very good. And Edgar, you're back.
I'm back.
How you feeling?
I'm not the best still, but I'm here.
You got that?
All my PTO right now, so I'm here.
Oh, is that why? So you used it all up, and now you're back. But people get this sickness right now, and they are doomed from it.
It's bad. I haven't got hit this hard since COVID. I'll be honest.
Did you get COVID?
I got COVID.
Because I've been thinking with some people, this might just be COVID. They sound like they're exhausted. They're
honestly,
sick.
it feels very similar. I can't smell anything, so it actually might be a form of COVID. But in today's world, it's not COVID. It's just a flu now.
Is it though? I think that they're two different diseases, though, aren't they?
Well,
what do you know about this?
There's a super flu. I saw that on my feed today. I don't know if it's true or not, but that was the word I saw.
That is not the. All right.
It was bad. Yeah.
It's Marvel super flu is what you got.
It's doomsday flu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start with an interesting story, and I think an important story. And frankly, the church hasn't talked that much about this. And people love sweet little babies. So sometimes because we love sweet little babies, we do immoral things. And this one is a talk by Archbishop Paul Gallagher, who's the foreign minister of the Vatican. And so let's just start with that. I'll read some of what Archbishop Gallagher said and see what the two of you think about it. Surrogacy, it's about surrogacy, violates the dignity of both unborn children and pregnant women, reducing them to mere commodities and victims of exploitation, said Archbishop Paul Gallagher, the Vatican foreign minister. I'm reading from OSV News right now. And here's a quote from him. One cannot evade reality in its essential core. This practice translates into the sale of a child. The central point of surrogacy lies in the commodification of the person. All right, that's a very fancy word, Archbishop, but we'll allow it in this case, which entails a grave violation of their dignity. It is precisely for this reason that the Catholic Church dedicates particular attention to it. And I think a lot of people have just accommodated themselves to this idea that surrogacy is just a normal part of life. And it's actually, to a Catholic, maybe to most people, I just don't, it seems to me like we Catholics are kind of, there's a certain moral training and a certain set of moral assumptions that come with being Catholic. And so some stuff shocks you. And this shocks the conscience, but maybe it's like, it seems to me like, shouldn't this shock everyone's conscience that women are being used to make babies for other people? Women's bodies are being treated not as, I don't know, not as their bodies, but as factories for babies. Do you think this should shock the conscience normally, or do we have to teach people to be shocked by this?
I mean, obviously, I think it. Oh man, I'm already blanking on my thoughts because of the silliness. No, I think people, when they introduce this kind of technology, it almost feels, here we are, what? How many years has it been? 10 years, 20 years since surrogacy started to become a thing? It on an assumption of this is a good thing, and we're just going to leave it at that. And it doesn't feel like anybody actually has reacted in a very strong way from, popular speakers. They'll talk about it, but it doesn't seem like it's something that people actually want to talk about, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, right. It's almost like it's one of those things where it's like, individual choice, and I don't want to put my opinion on other people.
The quote unquote nobody's getting hurt, so why are you going to complain about it? And there's different kinds of hurting people. It's not just if you are physically hurting them or you are killing them. There's other kinds of hurt. One of the things that I when I started thinking about the story that came to mind is we hear about the women who give out or rent out their wombs to create this, to sustain this life. You talk about the baby who's in there, who's going to have such a complex worldview or entering into this because just of the situation. And then I think the one we don't think about that seems to be very selfish is if it's a woman who's doing this, who's renting out a womb, it almost feels similar to worshiping at the altar of self, because I don't want my body to go through this. I don't, because you all have kids, I have kids, and we know that your wives, the woman's body changes quite a bit. It changes drastic ways. And it almost feels like I don't want this. I want to have a kid without the consequences of what's going to happen to my body, which I think
sometimes that's it. I mean, sometimes people can't have babies.
Yeah, that's the other one. But to me, that's the first thing that came to mind. It's like situations like Cristiano Ronaldo and his girlfriend. They wanted to have a kid, and they rented out a womb, and now they had a kid, and it's theirs, but it's not. It just
bothers me when you say rented out a womb.
I know, but it should make you uncomfortable, right?
It's okay to use that language because that's the bottom line of what's happening.
Yeah.
And for these women that give their bodies up for this, it's often a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah.
But it's also these.
Yeah. You get some poor woman who needs the money, and you get a wealthy couple who can afford that. There used to be a word for that. What is that word? X something. X. I can't remember. I mean, like if a robber baron does that to their employees, you go, clearly that's exploitation.
Yeah.
But if a rich couple does it to a poor woman, oh no, it's the free market.
And they consented.
And right. And another thing that's interesting, of course, in America, everything has to be either left wing or right wing, and it seems like the traditional how this should have shown up. This maybe is kind of offensive to both.
It should be.
But we don't know necessarily how to kind of reach across the aisle past the normal things that we're not going to agree on in an afternoon. But we could probably just agree on this. You've got a lot of people on one side who think that the Handmaid's Tale is a real thing, but they're not talking about surrogacy. They're talking about books being banned or something. And then on the pro-life side, you've got the concern for the destruction of all the besides just the outside of the act. This is being a life being created, but also the embryos being discarded, right? The number of selective abortions,
right?
Because you want the child who's got the, this child's going to be 6'2", and it's not going to have this gene that makes them, more prone to sickness, and you're creating these little supermen and women.
Well,
somebody had an idea about that, right?
It's got a eugenics angle.
Yep.
It's got an exploitation angle. It's got an abortion angle. Is there any good things that I've mentioned so far? I mean, it's like a litany of evils. The Archbishop. Pope Leo has spoken out against this as well. This is in the OSV News article. By transforming gestation into a negotiable service, this violates the dignity of both the child, who is reduced to a product, and the mother, exploiting her body and the generative process and distorting the original relational calling of the family. I'll be honest with you. I think some of the not wanting to speak up against surrogacy too is not wanting to offend gay people. I think that there's gay couples. That's their ticket.
That was Dave Rubin and his partner.
Yep.
Famously.
Wait, Dave Rubin? You got to help
me. Gay comedian guy.
Oh, okay.
He's more, he considers himself liberal, but he's been cozying up a lot more to the conservative side because
classical liberal.
Classical liberal, yeah. And that was a topic of conversation a few years ago when him and his husband had a kid, and it was through surrogacy, and the conservative circles like, what do we make of this? And some of them were like, well, you can't support them because they're gay, but there was no conversation about the surrogacy side of it. Just kind
Which is worse.
Yeah, I know.
To me, that's like, I don't know. I bought a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I treated a woman with disrespect, and I bought a baby. Oh, congratulations.
With an option.
What she did is wrong.
With an option for a reset too. So if the woman's 5 months along and the baby's got a defect or something, these clauses they come in there say that they can force the lady to have an abortion.
Yeah.
And then she's got to start over. And I mean, imagine you're a mother, and you're in this situation, whether or not you've chosen it, but now you've got this baby, and they say no, you've signed a form, and you need to end this life.
Yeah. I don't know, because I have an adopted daughter, and so you have to be aware that not all births and families and everything works out the right way. So but you can't, just because I have an adopted daughter who is my real daughter and I love her and will always love her as my daughter, it doesn't mean I don't know that when things are correct, babies have a right to be raised by their biological mother and father. The child has that right. Now, there are some times where that can't happen or didn't happen for some reason, but that doesn't mean the child doesn't have that right. And we just act like that's not a right. And one of the ways you should know that that's a right is ask children. Like, every child longs for their biological parents. And I'll just use it as an example. I spent several years of my life working with very badly abused and neglected children, little kids who had been through horrors. If it was the father or mother, they still wanted to know, when is my mom going to come visit me? When is my dad going to come visit me? There's something innate in the child that seeks the contact with the people who brought them into this world. So everything in society should be organized so that children can have what they're supposed to have. If they can't have what they're supposed to have because the parent died, or the parent is in prison, or the parent is sick, or the parent has is otherwise unable, okay, we make other arrangements for that. But you can't, like, I don't know. It shouldn't be offensive to people to say, yeah, you brought a child into the world, and the purpose of the way you brought that child into the world is to keep them from their biological parents, at least one of their biological parents. That's an evil purpose. You shouldn't do that. That at least that's the way it seems to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of it requires a little bit of subtlety too, because obviously every child is made in the image and likeness of God, and so it's not their fault, and there shouldn't be any shame put upon these children who are, bought and made with surrogacy. But nevertheless, you just have to kind of keep that tension, but also the tension of, like, shame on you as parents for making the situation in which they have to be separated from their mother or father.
Right. Like,
both.
Some gay couple that hires a poor woman to do this, it's got nothing to do with you being gay, that I'm saying this is very bad what you're doing. It has to do with what you're doing. And you don't get a free pass because, you have, I don't know, you feel like you're some protected class. Everybody feels like there's some protected class. Knock it off. We all have responsibilities. We all have basic responsibilities. And just because you feel, oh, I'm in a historically oppressed group. Oh, yeah, really? So you get to oppress somebody else? You get to turn that around into somebody else's damage? You get to do that to another person? There's a TV show where the two husbands got the little Vietnamese girl. And I don't remember.
Modern Family?
Modern Family.
Yeah.
It's a great show. All the characters are sweet. Everybody's, it's funny, it's charming, it's all these things. That doesn't take away from the fact that if you do that, you've done evil.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet there's a way to make a funny movie about Nazism. I bet I could, if I made them, and I'm not comparing you to, I shouldn't
It's
have
called
said Nazism.
Inglorious.
Inglourious Basterds, yeah, right. What was the one about the little kid? I can't remember. Taika Waititi made it. Oh, I can't remember. The little boy. But, like, I'm going to give a vocabulary test. Is a vocabulary word where I use the media to present something evil as if it was good? What is the word? Do either of you have a vocabulary word for that?
No, but I'm going to guess it starts with the letters EU. Like Utra something. I don't know.
I would say it's propaganda.
That's the word I was
that's
thinking.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
propaganda, right? Like, if you, I got nothing against the people who made the show Modern Family. I've many times enjoyed, as a matter of fact, when I had COVID, I remember kind of binging Modern Family. It made me feel better during COVID. It made me laugh. That's still propaganda.
A lot of these shows are like that. They make shows into propaganda. So they're kind of going a slightly off topic here on the tangent. But there's a show that my wife and I really like. The first 2 seasons they're really good. They have their problems, an episode here and there. They present things that are a little weird. But the final season is miserable because it's every single political agenda, and that show is Ted Lasso.
Oh, really?
Ted Lasso.
I've seen some of the early episodes, but
it starts off and they're going to do a lot of virtue signaling because she starts off. One of the ladies starts off and says, my mother was the best, the best man out there, or something to that effect. And Ted Lasso response was like, "That's a great joke, and if it's not, we have a lot to unpack there." Kind of like I'm happy for you, but definitely a lot to unpack. Sigh, oh sigh. Watching your own Inquisition episode, is that what's happening?
I'm trying to get to. I want to see the comments on YouTube.
But it feels like a lot of the TV that we've been watching over the last few years.
It's just propaganda. Like the fact that you get these wonderful actors to play this out in a way that I am rooting for them. I love them. I want them. But then you insert into this thing that really, if we have a serious moral conversation about that, what I need to say to you is you are promoting evil. That those little children that you think because the child is so sweet and nice and responds in love to the parents, and every parent who has done this surrogacy, the child loves you, and all these good things that you do for the child are really good things. That does not mean that you did something that violates the nature of the child, which is a nature to desire to be with its biological parents. That's what you did. First of all, you treated the woman as a thing to be used, and you treated the child as a thing to be sold. That's evil. There's no other descriptor for that. That's evil. And I can't make a show like Modern Family. I can't do it. I don't have that kind of talent. I'm not saying these people are not talented. They're brilliant. They're still making propaganda for something that you should not be advocating for.
It's interesting when we first started this conversation, I said, renting out a womb. He said that makes me feel really uncomfortable, but it's similar to the abortion topic. It's people start using euphemisms in order to hide the reality behind it. Yeah. And I think by using words like that, by saying things like you're renting a womb, you're uncovering this rosy, flowery language that's trying to clean it up into something pristine and beautiful.
But I think your point about it is germane here. Is we're not hearing a lot of flowery language to justify this. We just don't hear anybody speaking up.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everybody just seems completely cowed because you don't want to say to these people who are now they're getting up in the night and changing diapers and they're doing all these good things. Yes, all of that. But that was wrong, what you did. That was wrong, what you did. I'm sure there's people who have stolen a horse who are really good to the horse. Yeah. That doesn't mean stealing a horse is good. Yeah. Is that a bad analogy?
No, I think
you're right.
Comparing
the child to a horse.
No, the comparison that comes to my mind is a very similar conversation to IVF. I taught at a school where I had two students who were twin brothers, but they looked nothing like each other. And later on, I found out that they were both conceived through IVF, and the mom kept both of them. And again, it's a beautiful thing that you're alive. Both of you are here. It's great.
Right.
But the way you came about this world was wrong. It was an evil that
was done to you.
It was done to you. Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard for us because the child would not exist otherwise. The child would not exist otherwise. So you go, well, a great good was done for the child and a relatively minor indignity was done. I'm sorry, that's just not the way morality works.
Yeah, and this might actually be one of those things worth asking God when we die, because it might not be the case. Maybe that child would have existed, but in a different circumstance and perhaps a better circumstance.
Yes, right. We don't know how.
We can never know that on this side of the veil.
Right. It's kind of, that reminds me of, I remember asking Monica Dumet one time about, there was this woman on Saturday Night Live who was talking about her abortion and being like, well, if I had never had that abortion, I wouldn't have all this that I have now, this success and this, so I'm grateful for my abortion. And I said that to Monica Dumit, and she's like, she doesn't know what her life would have been like if she had accepted that baby. She doesn't know. What she knows is she destroyed the baby, and she wants to justify it, or not, maybe not even justify it, but kind of like promote the right to do this thing because it resulted in a good for her.
You got to live with their decisions, and it's hard to do, so you cope like that.
Yeah. I mean, but that's for all of us have made bad decisions. We've all done evil. I mean, every single one of us has done evil. So it's not like I mean, I don't know. Maybe you've never done evil. You look very innocent.
One time, 35 years ago.
You did some
very
evil?
Young, though.
Yeah.
A little thing.
Pre-conversion,
a little
right?
thing. I did a little thing.
Pre-conversion.
Let me read a little more of what the Archbishop had to say. Again, this is a speech given by Archbishop Paul Gallagher, the Vatican foreign minister, and I, for one, am grateful for our Archbishop Gallagher making this point, because we are so I don't know, we're just afraid to say that's wrong. Now if I see a couple with a child at the park, and I'm not going up to them going, go evil, like maybe they repented of it. I don't know what.
Get the phone out first.
Yeah.
Hey, how'd you get that baby?
Yeah, right. That baby doesn't look like you. Well, I don't know anything about that, and it's not but it's not our job to police. Mm-hmm. It's our job to be clear so that people don't think just slide into these decisions. The Holy See consistently takes a position in defense of the inalienable dignity of every person. Now I might be confused here. Is this Archbishop Gallagher or Pope Leo? What's one of the two of them? Every person possesses a unique value which is incompatible with any treatment that reduces them to an object of transaction, even in the apparently generous form of donation. The expected characteristics of the unborn child, and foreseeing, for example, what happens if they're not healthy or do not correspond to what was ordered, as happens with merchandise. This is what we're seeing. So, as you can see, I'm editing as I read, but this is horrifying.
Yeah.
To think, I'll place an order for a child. Child gets to be 5 months old in the womb, and that's not looking like the child I wanted.
This is a Black Mirror episode.
Right. You got my order wrong.
Yeah.
My burger's got pickles on it.
Exactly. Can you send it back and want another one? All right, we'll toss this one and get you a new one. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's exactly what it feels like as you were talking.
Wait, are you saying it's an actual Black Mirror episode, or it sounds like a Black Mirror?
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode because
yeah,
I mean, honestly, you could place it in a Black Mirror episode and it'd fit perfectly.
The child, and it is painful to note this, the Archbishop said, is objectified, often sold, transferred from one person to another, and in cases of non-altruistic surrogacy, the final payment occurs precisely at the moment of the delivery of the newborn.
Jeez.
We know what that is. Come on, why don't we just sell babies? Now, some people are like libertarian to that degree. Like, well, just let people, if they want to sell their children, sell them. I mean, we still have rules against child abuse, and so children will still be treated fine. But this is the thing. There is such a thing as human nature, and when you do things to other people that are contrary to their nature, you are violating their dignity. So the nature of the child is not to be a thing for sale. The nature of the child is to be a person, a member of a family, in which there is a natural connection to the mother and father. Can that always be achieved? No. Should that always be the goal? Yes, absolutely. 100% absolutely, because that's what the child deserves. All right, let's talk about the mother for a minute, though. Because, like you said, she agreed to it. It's a commercial transaction. She can do what she wants.
Yep.
Oh, we got nothing to say now.
No. We can't do what we want with our bodies, though. That's the thing is, we're not free to just do as we like, even despite the fact that we may think, it's my choice. That everything that we do in life has consequences, and sin darkens the intellect, right? So if you start making bad choices,
that's why I'm dumb.
Not accidental choices. But deliberately made choices, that darkens our intellect and that darkens our will too, and makes us worse people. And over time, that continues towards a darker road. So,
Yeah, but like nobody says, it's my body. I can use it to smack my kid as hard as I can. Because why do we not say that? Yeah, it is your body, but you can't use it in a way that harms another person. Surrogacy is a harm to the child. Well, it's not a harm to the child. I'm giving the child life.
Well, it's not even a harm. I mean, there's things that are illegal that you can't even do that are just harming to yourself. So like buying drugs and doing drugs, like it's illegal for you to do drugs. Well, it's not hurting anybody else.
Now
It's
you
just
tell
me. Wait till the whole truth comes out about Ozempic. Just wait. All these drugs that we're administering to people to make them
You think
feel
it's
good.
bad, Ozempic?
I think if it's done to lose weight, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? I have to say I totally disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a friend who has the same opinion of this.
Wait,
that
why
it's
do you think it's-
contrary to human flourishing?
To use Ozempic? No,
Yeah.
I mean, I know to treat diabetes and everything. I know you
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
be against that.
Yeah, of course.
But you're saying somebody is a person of size. That's what we say in my house.
Person of
Person of
size.
size.
CYZE.
No.
That's what his kids are. They're persons of size.
You're saying it's wrong for that person to use Ozempic? Because I don't agree with you at all. Like, I think it's fine to use Ozempic.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
No.
Ozempic...
If you look,
I don't know of any. I haven't heard. It's possible that there are
It's
consequences to taking Ozempic.
there's
that I
going
don't
to be
know about.
consequences that
And
are
I've
going
seen
to
that
come
many
out.
times before.
Yes.
It does not seem to be the case with Ozempic.
It is
with Ozempic.
But here's
It
the
is
thing.
the easy way out. It's-
Let's
what's
say
wrong
there's-
with the easy way out?
Let's say there's no consequences. What it suppresses the appetite, right? So it artificially suppresses something that works.
There we
that
go.
works in the body.
Exactly.
So this is not like, let's say there's
It's
no
a contraception
consequences
is
at
what
all.
it is.
No, it's not.
Contraception to the food.
That's Edgar saying that, not me. But I think it's interesting to.
That's not the same thing at all. However, to me. That's not the same thing
It's
at all.
it's
because-
messing with the natural function of the body that's not supposed to be messed with in that way.
Maybe the fact of all the processed sugar already messed with the natural function of the body, and this is just helping the person to regulate that. Like I don't know that's the case. Like I don't have any feel like I this is personal to me because I'm back on the Weight Watchers. You know, I'm back on the Weight Watchers, and it's hard and all of that, but I'm not exactly sure that. That I could use Ozempic, but I tell you what, I would if I could. I think I'd use it.
Really?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Like
If it's going to be destructive to the body, you're gonna see something's gonna come
now
out.
that
it's
is a
gonna be
different thing.
Fair, okay.
That's a different thing.
But that's one of the major arguments. The other thing
that's
is
not a moral argument though. That's an argument that that's an argument about risk, basically. That you think it's too risky because in long term it's going to have bad effects. But look, like there are actual miracle drugs that are just miracle drugs. Aspirin being one of them.
So look,
there are some mild and relatively marginal side effects from aspirin, but most people that use aspirin, it actually does what it's supposed to do.
So look, the problem with the whole obesity thing, people being too heavy, and eventually when they get diagnosed with Ozempic, it's because it's pretty severe cases, right? A lot of the times, people it's really big people that are super obese. All right, technically, I know I'm big. I'm obese.
None of us has a six-pack here.
And none of us has six pack.
I do. It's just
A beer.
I packed some other stuff around.
Now,
It's pretty solid, man. It's pretty solid.
So I think these are diseases, I guess, if you can call them that, obesity. The diseases of excess of a first world society that has given us too much and not enough virtue to be able to have self-control. And I'm coming from
it's a virtue problem.
I think it is a virtue
think people
problem.
being overweight is a virtue problem.
Because there's minimal self-control to the amount of stuff that we have. And I'm one of them. I am one of the people that has a trouble with that because I can't help myself with sugar. Whenever there's donuts in the office, it is extremely difficult to control myself to grab a second donut. I shouldn't even be grabbing the first one. Easy as that. But look,
That's what I have to do. I have to not grab the first one.
yeah, exactly. That's the hard part. Now, I think so there's a whole like multifaceted part here. So the other aspect of that is don't get me started on the healthcare system thing. Instead of giving this drug, why don't you just include in these systems a program to get you with a one-on-one trainer that's going to cost you probably less than what Ozempic's going
We
to
have
cost
that
you.
in our health coverage.
Exactly. So
We have that.
exactly. So why not promote those things instead of promoting here?
Why does
Here's
that be
an
one
easy.
or the other? Like I honestly
no,
don't.
because
and
one's more-
By the way, you have not said your view on this, so I see you're holding back.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't see anything wrong with Ozempic or Manjaro or whatever these things are. Like I would use them. I don't think there's anything bad. They just regulate some things. They seem to control blood sugars. They seem to be good for the heart. They seem to have some very positive effects on people who otherwise have addiction problems.
I agree with Mr. B here. He says, "Don't be the guinea pig." Again, going back to the
Yeah, but
potential
that's not a
harms.
moral argument so much.
Why am I being pigeonholed to just the moral argument?
No, you're giving a consequentialist argument.
Yes.
Right? And I had a little bit of the moral argument, which was that you're frustrating a natural sort of impulse. But also, you mentioned sugars and things. Our whole diet, the modern American diet, is so artificial. Artificial sweeteners, carbohydrates. I love boxes of crackers. They're terrible for my body. They don't do anything good. So if this can help the morbidly obese get down to more of a manageable thing, that's going to help their health a lot. I think there's good consequentialism. I don't think it's good for a guy like me to go on it. Maybe I could lose 30 pounds, but I should do it in a more virtuous way.
This
Cut
is the thing. You guys are
garbage.
making it virtuous. But let me ask you this.
Virtue is important in this.
A person gets a headache. Is there something unvirtuous about the person taking aspirin for the headache? Because nature the headache will go away. Nature will take its course. Now, I can see that there might be a moral excellence in saying, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to go through this headache and offer it up for your innocent little ones or something. That I'm not saying there's not a morally excellent path, but I'm talking about, is there a moral problem with taking an aspirin?
So that's a good question. I think it's one of those things where if you're capable of saying, and this is where a person I think has to try individually, is can I go without taking aspirin and offer this up? Maybe it's Lent or something for whatever reason. You're going to try to add to prayers. There's a good there.
Right,
but
but
the church
we're
does
not-
not condemn for taking aspirin to make the headache go away either.
Right. Okay, so the church doesn't condemn you taking. Why would the church condemn you taking what looks to be a relatively harmless substance to help you manage your weight? What would be wrong with that?
Sips with Sarah, our good friend Sips, says no because the headache wasn't caused by gluttony.
Is that a donut headache?
How do you? Well, most of my headaches are. I cannot believe how morally judgy all you people are. Let people do what's best for them. Why do you have to make a moral judgment on people getting help?
I didn't make a moral judgment. I'm fleshing this out for the sake of discussion.
Like I feel like I'm a moralist. Like I'm a hardcore. It is wrong. Surrogacy is wrong. I will take a hard stance on that. And I have no feeling about this as a moral issue. Like, what is wrong with
my initial reaction to this was no, because you don't know the consequences of what's going to happen in the future, and the miracle. So that was.
You have all this science. Like, it's perfectly okay to make your own risk assessment and go, you know what? All in all, I'm comfortable with this. They're giving it to people with diabetes. I'm going to take it for my weight. That's a perfectly moral thing to do. It doesn't mean you do it. That's not the calculation you make. But over here is Bob, who just tired of being chubby. He just really has a hard time.
Get on a treadmill, Bob. Start counting your calories.
I'm not calling you Bob. Bob was over
Bob.
here. You're over here. Bob was over here. I just want to make it clear.
Start eating more protein, lower down your carbs, and start walking. Go to the gym for 20 minutes a day.
Okay, that's what I do. That's fine. But I don't have any problem with Bob. Okay, let's say this. Bob is, you know what? He's got a lot of kids. He's in a particularly stressful time in his life. It's really hard for him to do all those things that you just said.
I'm right there with Bob, okay? I am. You're
but
describing my
judging Bob.
situation right now. I'm not going to go and take Ozempic.
But this is my problem is you're not making a moral argument. You're saying you're better than Bob. All you're doing is being proud rather than admitting Bob can make a different choice from me, and it's okay with God. God doesn't
What'd you
care.
call it? The consequentialist argument? That's my concern more than anything.
You're more worried about going blind from Ozempic than from.
So we're going to
Make it
encourage, say,
blind.
hey, go, man. Everything is all good and dandy right now. And then 10 years down the line, let's say he goes blind and is in a worse situation. It's like, man, I wish I would have had
that's just
a little more
he made
prudence.
a mistake then. That's just a mistake. He made a risk assessment. He doesn't agree with you that the risk is that high. He trusts the basic
Bob was
sciences.
wrong, so.
Yeah, but you're allowed to make mistakes in life. You don't have to be like, we all are operating with imperfect knowledge of the future. Bob says, if I continue this way, I'm going to be overweight and struggling all my life. I can continue this way, I can probably get my blood sugars in balance and I can lose some of the weight. What's wrong with Bob taking this way?
Yeah,
I'm not saying you can't do this side, but what if Bob thinks he can? What if Bob is, he just feels, I cannot do it. I need help.
And
what's wrong with that?
And you're strong, Edgar. You're like tall and strong, but there's a lot of people that are 3 bills or more, and they're not strong, and they're very sedentary. And Ozempic might be the only way they live beyond the next 5 years.
I feel like there's that, like, I really do strongly disagree with you. Like, I feel like
You're allowed to be wrong. That's fine.
I know I'm allowed to go, and I maybe could get argued out of this, but it just feels to me like, it's like to me, my wife got in trouble with her father-in-law, my father, because my father is an early riser, and my mother, God bless her, could not get up in the morning. And she struggled so hard to get up in the morning. And my father, at a certain point when we were all younger, he was kind of teasing my mom about it. And my wife goes, there's nothing morally superior about getting up early. And my father was like blown back. And my mother was like, I kind of like this girl. And my father was like knocked back. But I'll be honest with you, my wife was right. There's nothing inherent. We act like I love to get up in the early in the morning. I feel better if I get up early. I'd love to go to bed early at night and get up early in the morning. But when I was younger, I was just the opposite. I was a late night person who couldn't get to bed, and then I'd struggle every morning. I didn't get morally better because I can get up in the morning. Now, I said this to Chris one time, and he goes, it is morally better to be on time. I didn't say anything about being on time. I said getting up in the morning.
You just equated it.
Yeah,
it's not very much a journalist thing to do, is to stay up late at night, right? Like typing away and.
Yeah, especially if you have a job where you can do your work at night.
Yeah.
It's like I have a brother who's a cartoonist. He can do his work whenever he wants. I don't know when he gets up in the morning, but I'm guessing not as early as I do.
Yeah. But back to the and this is not my standpoint, but this is what I would explore with is it moral or not, is you have a good natural instinct, which is hunger, and hunger is a thing we have to feed ourselves, to eat, to nourish our bodies. And if you're artificially suppressing that, that's different from taking a painkiller to dull a pain so you can work and focus on your day. And I think it's sort of on the line of contraception where you're putting
wrong
something.
about that. If pain is there for a good reason, we have pain for a very good reason. So if I drink too much one night, in the morning I'm going to have pain as a consequence, and I'm going to take aspirin.
Or in Mexican
Okay, so
culture,
I
just
cut
drink
off a
another beer.
natural process. Pain is there to tell me don't drink so much. I cut it off. I cut off a perfectly good natural process.
So
you don't have to, like, we are natural makers. We're creative creatures. God made us creative creatures. We can fix things. It's our you may not know this. I don't know if they went over
I've
this.
never seen Cy this passionate about his
Ozempic.
But do you know that our natural state as humans is to be naked? As a matter of fact, every one of us comes into the world naked, and
What?
yet we cover ourselves with clothes. What are we violating the nature of the human person? No, you get to you're allowed to be creative and find.
Is it potentially harming nature, though? Is it potentially harming human nature? It's not. It's actually doing something better. You don't know.
People have died from having too much clothes on. That's happened.
Yeah, in certain
I
circumstances.
think I'm doing people a favor by wearing clothes. You're all welcome.
I am definitely doing everybody a favor. I totally understand that. Right.
You're welcome. All right.
I just don't. I I cannot get my head around why you would think that it's immoral.
Are you on Ozempic? Is that what you're telling me?
No, but I would tell you if I was on it. I would. As a matter of fact, well, I mean, you probably know this. I have this problem in my esophagus, so I don't know if I'm a good candidate for it. I've never asked the doctor, but I just assume because you can have esophageal problems from it. So,
Interesting.
I
Tell me
have
more.
this thing called Barrett's syndrome in my esophagus. You
And
can look it up.
Ozempic creates esophageal.
It might make it worse. So
It's like one of those commercials. It's like, do you have a raging headache or do you have a mild headache? Go ahead and take this drug. And then symptoms might include death. And it's like, why would I take it if this could potentially kill me?
look, everybody knows that all those disclaimers, that's because we have too many lawyers in America. That's the only reason we have all those disclaimers.
Do you have mesothelioma?
Right. Mesothelioma is proof there's too many lawyers. And I'm not saying lawyers don't do good. It's just that's why we have those are all defenses against lawyers.
Really glad Joe's not a lawyer.
But like, I wouldn't, if I felt like, and honestly, I've never said to my doctor, hey, am I a good candidate for this? But if I felt like, I mean, the last few times I did Weight Watchers, it was very successful until I just quit. So I still feel hopeful about it. I feel like, you know what, give it a few months. But if I got to the point where I felt like, I don't know how to do this, I can't make it, I don't care. I'd take Ozempic and I'd tell you. Why would I not? I don't care.
Because there
What's
are
the
better
judgment?
ways that are going to make you feel better and create better habits that are actually going to...
Oh, so I have to do the best thing all the time? Is that my moral obligation, to always do the best?
I'm not going for the moral argument. Si, stop throwing me back at the moral argument. You're trying to pigeonhole me. Stop doing that.
Well, no, Jesus didn't ever say, look, go do the best choice every time.
You have chosen the better way.
Yeah, I mean,
You need to be min-maxing. Yeah.
Look, man,
I can't do immoral things. There's nothing immoral about Ozempic. There's nothing immoral about it. What is the moral argument against it? What is the thing that you would say, that's just wrong?
that's the only...
It's too risky?
So that is your thing is the moral argument. It has to be.
Well, I'm not a
through the moral-
scientist. I don't make scientific arguments. I don't like.
So if it would be harming somebody, if it comes out that it's harming somebody, then you would be morally against it because it's causing them damage.
Well, it would be a 50-50 because, like, for example, people have epilepsy. The epilepsy medicines also do damage to them sometimes, but the epilepsy is so bad they got to take the medicine. So if somebody is
It's like
1,000
chemo.
pounds,
That's why
or
it's a
something,
risk assessment.
Yeah, so you have to assess the risk, and some people, even if there is risks or harms, you'd have to balance them against the goods.
Can I give you an extreme?
But let's say there's a huge high risk for somebody, and the reward is just they're going to feel better in their genes. I would say don't do it. But I've never seen that.
You know what also
situation.
creates great weight loss and is also an appetite suppressant?
What?
Methamphetamine.
Yeah.
And it works quick and it gives you a boost of energy. So can I sell you that in a bridge?
Wait, do you have some to sell?
How about a middle ground? Tobacco, nicotine.
It's a suppressant
Nicotine
and
is
it's
an appetite suppressant. Think about it. Think about how many smoking societies have not. You don't see a lot of big people smoking.
except for
right?
Chesterton.
I'm not a big anti-smoking person either, though. I think the society became too moralistic about smoking.
Yeah.
I do think you shouldn't smoke. I really do. I wouldn't encourage anyone. And if you don't smoke now, don't take it up. It's a bad idea. But I think there's too much moralism around smoking and drinking and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's like, do you want to die of lung cancer or obesity? You know, if you're going to choose.
So hold
one
on a
of those
second.
two.
So the,
Obesity, for definitely obesity. Like, that's not even a choice. If I have to die of lung cancer, a painful, excruciating death, or obesity where I get to enjoy donuts until I have a heart attack, I'm taking obesity. Why would you even say that?
sitting on his recliner eating Ben and Jerry's, just like
Like, don't ask questions where there's a clear, obvious answer. That's like my son says. He always he goes, you know that Clash song, Should I Stay or Should I Go? If I stay, there will be trouble. If I go, there will be double. He goes, well, then you should stay. Like, this is not even a question. He goes, why are they asking the question? If it will double if you go, just stay.
I like that. It's penetrating insight there. Why is nobody noticing this?
Do you want lung cancer or to enjoy food until you die? I think I don't want lung cancer. All right, but you say this because you're a smoker.
Pipes and cigars, not cigarettes.
All right, tell me about.
I don't recommend smoking.
Tell me about your
cigarettes
smoking
either.
habits.
So I've been enjoying a pipe at lunch at times here, and then probably 2 or 3 times a week I have a cigar or maybe a pipe at home.
Wait, so when you smoke at home, tell me about that. That doesn't bother wife or kids?
No, they actually enjoy it. My kids are like, they'll watch me blow smoke rings and they like that. And then my wife likes the smell of it. And I mean, the smell
Which
of a
one,
cigar,
the pipe or the cigar?
Both.
She likes both.
Yeah,
See,
she's both.
Most people prefer the smell of pipes.
Yeah, I think she does. Her grandfather used to smoke a pipe too, so she's got that sort of childhood memory of, being around a house with a pipe on the bookshelf, kind of just thrown there randomly because there were a bunch of pipes.
Should we do like a pipe smoking session here, just in the studio? One, I mean, it's a.
I think it is so corny when so many dudes try to prove how manly they are by smoking a cigar while they do their podcast. I feel like, do you not see how corny
Careful
you
now.
are?
We're not going to name any names.
We're not gonna name any names. Good time, Mike.
Who were you thinking?
Might
Oh,
rhyme
you're
with
thinking about
Fat
Matt Fradd? I'm not. I don't mean to pick on Matt Fradd, but I just think sometimes the manliness signaling of podcasters is like, oh God, that's embarrassing.
I mean, this kind of feels like a cigar lounge too, And
It does have that feel, yeah. Probably there's alarms that would go off in here or something.
That's
I don't
true.
know.
We should got to install what do you call them? The filters.
Not
I
sprinklers.
just the performative smoking is silly to me.
Performative smoking. That's a good way of
it's
putting it.
silly.
It does.
Come on,
It does
grow
feel
up.
that way. But the thing is, it would be fun to smoke cigars with Matt Fradd or Michael Knowles or any of those guys and talk to them for a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
Do you smoke a pipe at all, or do you smoke cigars?
I don't smoke anything.
Okay.
My wife does not I'm not bothered by the smell of smoke. Like even cigarette smoke, I don't mind it really. But it does bother my wife. She doesn't like it. But she doesn't like smells. She's like, that smell. that's my we have skunks near our house and the skunk goes off at night. I could sleep through the skunk. That skunk is within 100 yards of our house. My wife is up, stressing out. I can't get away from that skunk
Is
smell.
it a skunk or is it like a neighbor that smokes weed?
No,
it's
it's
a very
not.
similar smell.
Well, in my neighborhood, it could be either, but it's the skunk. It's the animal.
I had baby skunks playing in my backyard when I first moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
They were kind of cute, and I was like, if they didn't smell so bad, I'd probably want to pet one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got my dog one time. That was nasty for him because we had you almost have to mistreat the dog. You're like, you got to put laundry soap on him. That's the not laundry soap, dish soap on him. That's the.
Can you like tomato?
They say
or
tomato,
something?
but that's not. If you use like Dawn dish soap or whatever you've got,
Okay.
that'll take the smell down, and that's miserable for the dog. They hate it. They're like, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. So I wouldn't. I don't think I would smoke in the home just because it would really make my wife miserable. She wouldn't like it. But I don't have much of an attraction to it. Like I would like to do one of those things where like sometimes they do like churches or something. They'll have a smoking night for guys or the Knights of Columbus or something, and they show you how to smoke a cigar and they do all the how to cut it and smoke it and all that. And I would like that. Like I would find that pleasant. I wouldn't find that unpleasant. It's not a major interest of mine.
Yeah. I've been talking to Edgar about doing a pipe smoking night or cigars, either one. Cause
I told him I'm game for that. I don't really smoke tobacco. As long as I can bring my bottles of whiskey, I'm happy. So we're good to go. I think I've only smoked cigars on occasion, kind of celebratory cigars with friends, and it's never gone past that. I'm not a big tobacco guy in general, but I will say this. I love the idea of pipe tobacco. And I love the idea because it actually smells to me a lot more pleasant than all the other stuff, including cigars. And again, the wife has a lot to do with this.
Yeah, she should. Like,
Yeah.
you should be respectful of your wife about these things.
Because when I've been around cigar smokers or I smoke a cigar, she's like, just go away. Like, I don't want to be around. Go take a shower. But when I've been around, pipe smokers, she's like, what's that smell? It smells really nice. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I think as I was telling you, Michael Knowles says it's the incense of the body. If we are the temples of the Holy Spirit,
it's the incense.
Incense
Yeah.
of the body. Yeah.
That's
Is he
great.
a performative smoker though? Like, I don't know. I like Michael Knowles very much. I'm not complaining.
He
about
has his own cigar line.
Oh, he
the
does?
Mayflower
Yeah.
cigars. So
Well, that's good. I mean,
Expensive,
you got to have a side hustle. You got. I mean, I don't begrudge a guy that, but like, I don't know. Sometimes the whole manliness routine on podcasts just bores the daylight. I feel like, did none of their fathers love them? Like, why are
No.
they? doing this
No. But hold up on that.
Yeah.
you're offending Jeff. Hold
No,
on.
no. I actually have a lot of thoughts here, but there's just so many young men who don't know what proper fatherhood and
Yeah, that's
manhood
true.
looks
That's-
like.
that's a good point.
And they're desperate to like see and understand it and to try it out in different ways. So the cigar thing, I think, is one of those ways it looks like it's patriarchal and it kind of looks.
Well, I'm a child of the 60s, so I would say rule number one of manliness is almost the same as rule number one of Fight Club. Don't talk about manliness. Like, there's nothing less manly than talking about manliness.
But you have to talk about it with people who don't know what it is or have never
Yeah, I think I
exposed
accept
to
that.
it.
I do. I
Right.
agree. I
But
think
you
that's
know,
right.
but growing up, like I was always kind of pushed to the side with like, not to get into like a therapy session or anything, but I was always kind of pushed off to the side. Like my brother and our neighbors would go out and actually work like almond orchards and fields when they were little kids, and they're like, Edgar can't do it. Don't take him with. So it kind of like pushed me away a little bit from that. But it wasn't until my mentor who came along and he's like, hey, do you know how to change? Do you know how to change a fuel pump in a car? I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And he took me under his wing and he showed me how to do these things. And it's like,
yeah.
all right. So that is an example of true masculinity that
beautiful.
knows
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah, we
it's-
don't have that rite of passage that most cultures have
Yeah.
at some point. So there's all these men who are 19, 20, 25, and they're, am I a
There's
man
no-
yet? I don't know what being a man
Yeah,
means.
right. Yeah, like I told my son when he was a man. Like I said to him, he asked me about something one day about could he do something, and I go, "You're a grown man. Make up your own mind." And I think he was like, "Oh, I'm a grown man." Like
it clicks in your head because you're
I
like,
think he was like, "Okay, my dad said I'm a grown man." Like you don't have to ask me about that. And I have to say too, I don't think it's just the lack of fathers. I think it's the lack of uncles too. I think they're like in the old days, you had your dad, you had your uncles. There were these networks of brothers, but families got so much smaller. Nobody's got uncles anymore. But like one of my favorite memories as a kid is my father and his two brothers leaning over the hood of a car trying to solve a problem, yelling at each other, saying that's a stupid idea, and having a great time, basically realizing that's how men like hang. Like they're like, no, that's not the problem. You're going to take that all apart, and it's not gonna, and you just kind of learn. That's manliness. Like,
Well,
they
and-
know how to do stuff, but they also don't know how to do. Like they argue about the best way to do it or the right way to do it, or.
but if somebody makes a comment about it, that's when it's like you just kill the mood, dude. Like you're like, we're all hanging out, just like
like
just
men.
talking. He's like, isn't this great? We just make you feel real manly. You're like, you need to go, dude.
That's what I'm talking about. Like if you talk about manliness, that's the least manly. But I do take your point. The last couple generations, there's been a lessening of manly role models, and that's also true in the media. The media got really, men became.
Yeah, it goes back to the propaganda thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Homer Simpson is not a good. Everybody knows that's not what a man is supposed to be, but he doesn't show you what a man should be.
Yep.
So now you're a 6-year-old, maybe the father's in the home, maybe not. You start watching Homer Simpson. That's got some pretty confused messages about what a man is, what his value is, why he's around. Like Homer Simpson's useless, isn't he? I think as far
Yeah. Well, and then you have the examples of the super masculine men in these shows, and they're just horrible human beings.
Oh my gosh!
And it's
I know.
like you're
I know.
either
Like
a
Dirty
doofus
Harry
and
or
everybody
something.
kind of likes you. You know,
Yeah.
he's the idiot of the group. We kind of like him, compared to the super masculine guys are like, we don't like you. You're just completely horrible.
This is why Jordan Peterson has been such a hit the
Yeah.
last 7 or 8 years, because
Oh,
he
that's a good
shows
point.
as a man you can't just be this harmless little goober, but you also need to, but you also don't want to be this insane super He-Man woman hater.
Dude has
And
a
you gotta
PhD in
find
psychology.
the middle part of that.
He
and
sat
he's
down and
really
read
good
some
at saying
books.
that.
That's manly. Sitting down, read some books.
That is.
Like
Yeah, that's virtue.
Yeah. I just want to say, Jesus said
It's not
this-
moral, though. Don't say that.
Jesus said this about the Pharisees. They tie up heavy, burdensome loads and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them.
I get it. I'm overweight. Stop talking.
I'm just saying, it's here's the moral teaching. Don't use Ozempic. You're immoral if you use Ozempic.
So the moral arguments against Ozempic, it turns medicine into a shortcut to avoid self-mastery. It medicalizes a moral failure. It treats the body as a machine, not a moral agent, and it's ordered towards vanity, not health. Those are the moral arguments according to Chapita. Thank you very much.
Chapita. All right, let's do the show. Tim will be here first hour.
All right.
Tom Nash, second hour. We're going to ask Tim about
the prosperity gospel.
the prosperity gospel.
And
So
the
we'll start
Bible
with-
verse that they use. All right?
Yeah.
Cut it, Johnny.
All right, I got to go take my Ozempic pill. Bye.
A pill.
Pill. I got to go smoke my Ozempic. I rolled the Ozempic joint earlier.